In 1952, when the graceful Aurelia B20 was racing and rallying, a new sports car was being developed in Torino. Gianni Lancia had decided to build a real sports racing car, and it was destined to bring Lancia some fine successes in long and grueling road races during 1953 and 1954. Initial design work on the first true Lancia sports racing car started in February 1952, and just over a year later, on the 26th of April 1953, the two-seater cut its teeth in the Mille Miglia. Lancia took a new approach in designing the car, opting for a multi-tubular frame constructed on small diameter steel tubes. The roof section was an integral part of the frame. Called the D20, the car had a wheelbase of 2.6 meters and all-round independent suspension. Developed from the Aurelia V6 idea, there was a new competition engine topped by 4 overhead camshafts. The V-angle was still 60 degrees, but this high-performance engine also had hemispherical combustion chambers, twin ignition, and wet sump lubrication. A pair of electric fuel pumps aided the usual mechanical pump, feeding triple 42mm DCF4 carburetors. The designer of this first thoroughbred Lancia competition engine was Ettore Zaccone Mina. The first version had a bore and a stroke of 86 by 85 millimeters, giving 3 liters, and with a compression ratio of 9.2, the power output was rated at 217 horsepower at 6,500 RPM. This corresponded to a specific output of 73.5 horsepower per liter, which was a very high figure for the period. The power was transmitted by a split prop shaft with elastic couplings to an Aurelia-type transaxle. The 4-speed gearbox, which had synchromesh on the higher 3 gears, was united with the final drive and placed in front of the rear wheel axis. The independent rear suspension was similar to that of the Aurelia, universally joined half shafts taking power to the back wheels. Semi-trailing single wishbones were used, but a transverse leaf spring replaced the coils. Both front and rear drum brakes were solidly mounted to the chassis and transaxle respectively and placed inboard, effecting an important reduction in unsprung weight. Additional friction dampers were added to the telescopic shock absorbers, and the driver was able to adjust them via a small hand wheel and chain on the rear scuttle. Lancia dropped the famous sliding pillar front suspension, which had first been used on the 1922 Lambda. Instead, a system of semi-trailing arms and an anti-roll bar was substituted, together with a transverse leaf spring and struts above. Half shafts coupled the front drum brakes to the wheels. Light alloy bodies for the sports coupes came from Pininfarina, featuring a large wraparound rear window. Dark blue and white was chosen as the color scheme, Lancia preferring their own choice of paint to traditional Italian racing red. Gianni seems to have invested heavily in this project, since apparently no less than 9 chassis were built. After the 2 prototypes, one still equipped with a sliding pillar front suspension and another fitted with the experimental 2.5 B110 engine from the Aurelia series, 4 additional cars were prepared for the 20th Mille in 1953, and a further 3 were put under construction, although were never finished. The Mille cars were to be driven by Piero Taruffi, Umberto Maglioli, Felice Bonetto, and Clemente Biondetti. The opposition included the latest from Ferrari and Alfa Romeo, while Alfa Romeo were also introducing a new coupe model, the 275 horsepower 6C 3000 CM with a 6-cylinder engine of 3.5 liters. Their drivers would be Juan Manuel Fangio, Carl Kling, and Consalvo Sanesi. Ferrari headed their armada with 300 horsepower versions of the 340, these 4.1-liter cars being piloted by Giannino Marzotto, Giuseppe Farina, and Luigi Villoresi, and backed up by some very fast 3-liter Ferraris. No less than 481 cars entered this 1,512 kilometers road race. An Alfa Romeo 6C 3000M led for over 4/5 of the race, but by Bologna, Marzotto took over the lead with his 4.1-liter Ferrari and held it to the finish at Brescia. Fangio, who had been leading, was troubled by his steering and slowed a little, but he still finished second. Early in the race, the Lancias proved very fast, and Taruffi was lying second to Sanesi's leading Alfa Romeo and ahead of Farina, Villoresi, Fangio, Marzotto, and Kling after the first 40 miles to Verona. However, shortly after Verona, Taruffi retired with engine trouble, leaving Bonetto to take the 3rd place and Biondetti 8th. Unfortunately, Maglioli also suffered an engine failure. A fortnight later, the D20 scored its first win. The Palermo Monte Pellegrino hill climb on the 25th of May was the scene for 25-year-old Umberto Maglioli to record fastest time. Just 4 days later, Lancia lined up 4 D20s for Taruffi, Maglioli, Bracco and Bonetto to contest the 37th Targa Florio on the 72 kilometers Little Madonia course. Maserati entered a quartet of 2 liters Ace GCS of Formula 2 derivation for Fangio, Mantovani, Musso and Giletti, and Ferrari representation was in the private hands of Castellotti, Cabianca and Stagnoli, all with 3-liter cars. This Targa Florio resulted in Lancia's first big win. It was an exciting race as Taruffi caught up with the leaders after a slow start. He chased Maglioli, his teammate, very hard for the lead and eventually secured it after setting a new lap record. The crowd was ready to cheer the Roman driver, but 30 miles from the finish, Taruffi went off on a bend and had to give up. That left Maglioli, who had been up with the leaders all the time and had actually led 3 of the 8 laps, to take the flak for Lancia. Taruffi had continued to drive flat out ahead of Maglioli and Giletti in the Maserati when he was on the last lap and leading comfortably because, as he explained afterwards, he had misunderstood one of Gianni Lancia's pit signals and thought that Maglioli was still ahead. For Le Mans, on the 13th and 14th of June, Lancia kitted out the D20s with Roots superchargers. This was probably the influence of Maglioli's staggering performance on the Carrera Panamericana in his B20 Aurelia the previous November. For the D20, the belt-driven blower was installed between the cylinder banks. The 86mm bore was reduced by 5mm and the engine capacity dropped from 3 liters to 2.7 liters. Although the maximum power rose to 240 horsepower at 6,500 RPM, this experiment turned out to be a big failure. And these were to be the last factory-entered Lancias to use the Roots unit, until the arrival of the Volumex model of the 80s, that is. Le Mans in 1953 featured works cars from Alfa Romeo, Ferrari, Lancia, Aston Martin, Jaguar, Healey, Porsche, Gordini and Cunningham. The D20 foursome were driven by Taruffi, Maglioli, Bonetto, Valenzano, Manson, Chiron and Gonzalez Biondetti. Immediately, the closed body of these supercharged coupes turned out to be a handicap because of the generated heat and noise, and the top speed on the long Mulsanne straight was disappointing at 219 km per hour compared to 245 km per hour for the Alfa Romeo Disco Volante, 245 for the Jaguar C-Type, and 242 for the Ferrari 4.1 liter. Unsurprisingly, the Lancias could not contest the lead, and one by one the Torino cars dropped out. Generator failure sidelines both Taruffi and Valenzano, while blown head gaskets claimed Manson, Chiron and Gonzalez Biondetti. Just a week afterwards, Taruffi and Bonetto entered in their D20s at the Grand Prix of Oporto in Portugal, but Taruffi left the road and engine trouble forced Bonetto to retire, though he was leading with only 5 laps to go. The persistent cockpit heat, as experienced right from their first outing, had forced Lancia to develop a D20 Spider body. So a fortnight after the Le Mans debacle, Lancia entered 3 factory cars for the Gran Premio dell'Autodromo di Monza, amongst them 2 open sports racing cars for the up to 3 liter category. These Spiders were actually D20 coupes with their roofs chopped off, the modification having to be done by Lancia themselves in less than a month, as insufficient time remained for the cars to be sent to Pininfarina for this job. All 3 cars entered now featured a pale blue and white paint scheme. The race was run in 2 heats of 35 laps each, the overall winner being Luigi Villoresi in a V12 Ferrari. For Lancia, Froilan Gonzalez and Felice Bonetto drove their D23 Spider models, equipped with 3-liter engines and no superchargers. An experimental De Dion rear suspension was fitted to the Gonzalez D23. Both cars were 10 centimeters shorter than the D20 and weighed 800 kg, some 50 kg less than the previous coupes. An additional D20 was driven by Robert Manson. Gonzalez retired from the first heat with clutch failure, and Manson was 13th, 3 laps adrift because of a sick motor. In the second heat, Bonetto's D23 led until lap 12, but co-driver Manson retired the car when the engine ceased. For the Dolomite Cup event on the 12th of July 1953, Lancia entered a trio of D23 Spiders, still having the 3-liter engine, but now with a De Dion rear suspension for all D23s, replacing the previous all-independent layout. In fact, all of the 4 previous D20 coupes had now been modified into D23s with more refined and strengthened bodywork. The D23s were driven by Taruffi, Bonetto and Valenzano. The route starting from Cortina was over 300 kilometers and included the Falzarego, Pordoi and Rolle passes, then onto the Feltre, Belluno and Misurina, and back to Cortina. Local knowledge played a significant part in the event, Paolo Marzotto bringing his 3-liter Ferrari home 1.5 minutes clear of Piero Taruffi's Lancia. Significantly, the Lancia drivers detected an improvement in road holding with the Didion suspension placed in front of the half shafts, and a similar layout was adopted for the Aurelia during the following year. The Portuguese Grand Prix brought a first win for the D23 Spider. Felice Bonetto leading this 275 kilometers Lisbon road race to beat Stirling Moss's Jaguar. Piero Taruffi retired his Lancia with mechanical trouble, while Gonzalez crashed in practice and was unable to drive again that season. In the meantime, work on the new D24 model was proceeding in Torino under the supervision of Vittorio Jano, now 62 years old, while Ettore Saccone Mina remained responsible for the engine development. The chassis was the responsibility of Francesco Faglio, and Giuseppe Giglio was the test driver. Engine capacity was increased to 3.3 liters and the compression fixed at 9.2. Using a properly balanced crankshaft, output was 265 horsepower at 6,500 RPM. The wheelbase was reduced to 2.4 meters and more weight was placed over the driven wheels with the gearbox behind the rear axle. The gearbox and final drive shared a common housing instead of the split one previously, and a one-piece prop shaft featuring universal joints at either end replaced the two-piece shaft. The transverse leaf spring, as used on the D20 and D23, was dropped in favor of two quarter elliptics attached to the chassis at the front and picking up via silent blocks on the Didion rear axle. Compared with the previous model, the D24 weighed 60 kilograms more, and with fuel, water and oil on board, plus the driver, a new D24 recorded about 1,050 kilograms. Externally, the D24 could be distinguished by a more elegant front end than that of the D23, complete with a nearly oval radiator grille, and the car now appeared in Italian racing red. Scuderia Lancia entered two new 3.3-liter D24s and one 3-liter D23 on the Nürburgring 1,000 kilometers on the 30th of August 1953, with Manson, Taruffi and Fangio Bonetto driving the newer cars and Castellotti Bracco the D23. The most formidable opponent to the open cars from Torino was the 4.5-liter Ferrari of Ascari and Farina, which was the eventual winner. On the 10th lap of this 44-lap race, the fuel pump of Fangio's D24 brought him to a halt, but Taruffi had been in the lead from the 6th lap onwards. He set the fastest lap of the day at 10 minutes and 24 seconds, 132 kilometers per hour. But after 2.5 hours and 15 laps, both Lancias were stuck in the pits. The 4.5-liter Ferrari was 6 minutes behind when Manson attempted to take over from Taruffi, but the D24 would not start. The rough track had meted out such punishment to the battery that it had been vibrated and shocked to failure. A similar failure led to the retirement of the Castellotti Bracco D23. For neither push-starting nor battery charging was allowed. However, Lancia had showed their potential by leading the 4.5-liter Ferrari around the tough Nürburgring. an important late-season classic. The fourth Carrera Panamericana was fought out over 8 tough stages from November the 19th to the 23rd, and this comparatively young event attracted the attention of several international racing teams. A victory here would bring car and driver worldwide attention, especially in the USA. Lancia spared no trouble or expense, setting out under the team leadership of Attilio Pasquarelli, with 20 mechanics to look after the 5 sports cars. Fangio, Bonetto and Taruffi had D24s, and a pair of 3-liter D23s were provided for Bracco and Castellotti. For this grueling road race, the engine capacity, as at the Nürburgring, had been reduced to 3.1 liters, and power output was quoted at 230 horsepower at 6,250 RPM. There were minor bodywork alterations, including apertures to cool water and engine oil, an increased slope of the front screen placed on one side only, and a metal tonneau cover over the passenger seat. The team had an aeroplane at their disposal in Mexico for the movement of mechanics and spares. As for the opposition, the most serious looked like the 7 privately entered Ferraris, the 375s and Scuderia Guastala's 4.5-liter V12. The 375s were driven by Maglioli, a 330 horsepower version, Chinetti and Ricci, backed up by Mancini and Stagnoli. French drivers Berat and Lucas appeared with 3-liter, 8-cylinder Gordinis. From the start of the first stage, a tremendous duel for the lead developed between 2 middle-aged but ambitious Lancia drivers, Taruffi at 47 and Bonetto at 50 years old. The first stage went to Bonetto, but Taruffi took the second and third. It was to be a tragic event though, for on that third stage, Stagnoli and his co-driver Scotuzzi died in a crash. On the fourth stage, Bonetto was leading by 41 seconds over Taruffi, but lost ground until his teammate was right on his tail. Over 200 kilometers, the pair fought in close company, and then in mid-corner, Bonetto suddenly applied his brakes to avoid an unexpected obstacle, and Taruffi went off the road. Taruffi's D24 suffered slightly damaged front suspension and ended up in a field. However, fate was not on Bonetto's side, and he was killed after hitting the wall of a house. Meanwhile, Taruffi suffered a 20-minute delay to effect provisional repairs, and he rejoined unaware of his teammate's death. Umberto Mattioli won this dramatic fourth stage in the 4.5-liter Ferrari, but on the next stage the car lost a wheel and Maglioli took over the similar Ferrari of teammate Ricci. Because of the Bonetto fatality, Gianni Lancia ordered the remaining Lancia drivers to ease off a little and not to race each other. Although Maglioli won stages 6 to 8, he could not challenge Lancia in the overall classification, and the Torino cars closed up in formation and covered the last stages without taking risks. For the final stage, a mechanic accompanied each of the drivers who were to score Lancia's 1, 2, 3 result. On this last stage of the event, Maglioli wound up the Ferrari V12 to 7,100 RPM in top gear, a speed of 275 km per hour, whereas the Lancias could just top 250 km per hour. So in Mexico, Lancia celebrated one of their most rewarding achievements of the 1950s. But nevertheless, the Italian teams went home sad, mourning the death of 3 comrades lost in 3,000 kilometers of road racing. By consistent driving that avoided unnecessary car strain, Fangio was acclaimed overall personal winner of the Carrera Panamericana, with Taruffi second and Castellotti third. Incidentally, Giovanni Bracco retired his D23 early on, losing a rear wheel. After the Lancias came Mancini and Serena in the Ferrari, Rossi in the Talbot, and Maglioli in another Ferrari. The World Championship of Makes was instituted in 1953, and Lancia shared fourth place with the American Briggs Cunningham behind Ferrari, Jaguar and Aston Martin. Lancia had begun work on their new Grand Prix car and the team surrounding it during 1953, and for the new season, Gianni Lancia was assured of the services of 1952-1953 world champion Alberto Ascari, plus his friend and teacher Luigi Villoresi. Thus, Ferrari lost two potential winners to the team from Torino. Lancia remained in sports car racing as well for 1954, beginning the season with 4 D24s entered at Sebring. Equipped with 3.3-litre engines, the D24s would face 12 hours of racing in an event counting as the second round of the championship, following Buenos Aires. Part of the program was an intensive testing session held in private at the Ospedaletti track near Sanremo during early February. Ascari drove the new D24 for the first time and almost matched his 1951 4.5-litre Ferrari Formula One time. At Sebring, Ascari was paired with Villoresi, Fangio with Castellotti, Taruffi with Manson, and Valenzano with Rubirosa. Ascari, Fangio and Taruffi became the pace setters, but after 50 laps, Fangio was out with gearbox trouble, and 37 laps after that, Ascari also retired. Taruffi and Manson were still leading, but they had to defend Lancia's honour against the little Oscar 1500 of Stirling Moss and Bill Lloyd, the only opposition of any worth, after the 4.5-litre Ferrari of Fitch and Walters had stopped. Valenzano Rubirosa had dropped to 7th after 6 hours, delayed by Rubirosa's driving. At the close of the 11th hour, Taruffi had a lead of 150 kilometers over the Oscar when the engine began to seize, starved of lubrication owing to excessive oil consumption. Taruffi pushed his car 1.5 miles to the pits, arriving completely exhausted, and oil was inserted through the spark plug orifices in an attempt to free the piston, but without success. Manson then pushed the car over the line to secure second place, but they were disqualified after a protest that they had failed to cross the line under their own power. Even so, Valenzano and Rubirosa took a legitimate second place for Lancia. Just one car was entered for the Tour of Sicily on the 4th of April for Piero Taruffi as a final test before the Mille Miglia. Taruffi fought for the lead over several laps with Umberto Martioli in the 4.9 Ferrari, but this time their intense rivalry was resolved in favour of Lancia and Taruffi, Martioli leaving the road in Ferrari's Monster. An Alfa Romeo 1900 Ti was second, almost an hour behind. For the 1954 season, the Scuderia had Bonetto's crashed car rebuilt with a new chassis, while Gianni intended to construct 4 brand new cars as well. But in a last-minute move, it was decided to rebuild all the 1953 cars to 1954 specifications for the 21st Mille Miglia, which took place on the 1st and 2nd of May. It attracted factory entries from Ferrari, Maserati, Aston Martin, Austin Healey, Porsche and Renault. Among the 374 starters for the 1,600 kilometers event, Lancia entered a trio of D24s plus 1 spare car for Taruffi, Castellotti and Ascari, who was driving in place of Villoresi, lying injured in hospital after an accident. Alfa Romeo had only unofficial touring cars, but Ferrari had a strong team with Maglioli, Farina and Giannino Marzotto in the 350 horsepower 4.9-litre cars. They were backed by 3 4.5-litre V12s for Paolo Mazzotti and Scotti, while brother Vittorio, as well as Terzi and Cortese, had a 2-liter 4-cylinder Ferrari. Averaging 180 kilometers per hour, Taruffi was in the lead at Verona after breaking all existing records despite the bad weather. And near Ravenna, the trio of Lancias still led with Taruffi averaging nearly 176 kilometers per hour. A minute behind was Ascari, followed a further 2 minutes adrift by Castellotti. Then came the Ferraris of Maglioli and Paolo Marzotto. But Giannino Marzotto had decided to retire the unruly Ferrari in such conditions, which was a little surprising as he had won the event twice before. Near Pescara, Taruffi still averaged 177 kilometers per hour. Ascari was now 4.5 minutes behind and Castellotti 6 minutes after that, followed by Maglioli's Ferrari, then Paranel in the Aston Martin and Vittorio Marzotto in a 2-liter Ferrari. Then on the Apennine roads, Castellotti's engine broke and the gap from Taruffi to Ascari grew to 4 minutes and 40 seconds, with another 11 minutes between the world champion and Maglioli as they passed Rome. Still there were 600 kilometers to go, and near Rome, Ascari clipped a curbstone and lost time changing a wheel, while Taruffi retired near Firenze, with car damage suffered earlier when he had left the road trying to avoid a backmarker that had started earlier. At Siena, Ascari still had over a minute's advantage over Maglioli, and between Firenze and Bologna, the difficult Futa and Radicofani passes played their part and Maglioli left the road. After Ascari had repaired a broken throttle return spring in Bologna with an elastic garter belt borrowed from a spectator, his way to victory was clear. He took 11 hours and 26 minutes, averaging 139 kilometers per hour for the whole Mille Miglia. Vittorio Marzotto salvaged something for Ferrari, bringing his 2-liter Mondial home second, 20 minutes behind Ascari, who had proved what an able all-rounder he was. Luigi Musso in the Maserati was third, and Clemente Biondetti in the Ferrari 250 fourth. And let's not forget the 7th place overall for Serafini and Mancini in a B20 2.5-liter Aurelia. Owing to increasing Formula One participation, Lancia cut down their Sport Car Championship program thereafter. The cars did not go to Le Mans, but for bigger Italian home events, the Lancias were further modified, reaching 3.8 liters by the end of the year. Lancia sent Castellotti, then 20 years old, and Taruffi to contest the 38th Targa Florio, and they were firm favourites following the Mille Miglia result. Sicily's numerous corners, though, emphasized the stiff competition provided by Musso's Maserati 2-liter, and he led during the opening stages. Following a tyre change, Castellotti then attacked, breaking the 90 km per hour barrier for the first time with a lap averaging 94 km per hour. The race between Musso and Castellotti ended when Musso fell back and the Lancia had to retire with a broken suspension. But Taruffi went on to score another victory for Lancia at record speed, more than 6 minutes in front of Musso. A 1-2 win at Oporto was also part of Lancia's successful year, and the team also appeared at the Tourist Trophy held on the narrow Ards circuit near Belfast in Ulster on September the 11th. Lancia had a slight disadvantage because of the engine capacity handicap system. Had all their engines been the old 3.3-liter capacity, they would have been on more equal terms with Ferrari. But Lancia also took along their new 3.8-liter D25 with a shorter wheelbase, 2.28 meters versus 2.4 meters, a 5-speed gearbox and a new suspension that had outboard front brakes. The engine had a bore and stroke of 93 by 92 millimeters to give 3.8 liters and 295 horsepower at 6,500 RPM. Lancia drivers were Fangio Castellotti and Ascari Villoresi in the new D25s, the older 3.3-liter D24s being for Taruffi, Piodi and Monson, Valenzano, and one D25 was kept as a spare. The D25 was certainly fast, Ascari taking pole position in front of opponents such as Mike Hawthorn in a 3-liter 4-cylinder Ferrari. And from the start, a hectic battle ensued between Tony Rolls, 3.4-liter Jaguar D-Type, Hawthorn, Ascari, Fangio and Taruffi. But Fangio was out on the opening lap after hitting a curb. Later on he was to replace Piodi in the Taruffi Lancia. A fierce duel between Hawthorn in the lead and Ascari broke new records, but Ascari found the track too narrow and hit a wall, falling back to retire when the prop shaft came through the bottom of his car 40 minutes later. Hawthorn went on to win in 7 hours and 30 minutes, partnered by Maurice Trintignant, ahead of the Lancia D24 of Taruffi and Fangio, and Manson and Castellotti. The Tourist Trophy was the last major event abroad for the Lancia sports cars. Ferrari won that year's championship with 38 points, but Lancia was second with 20 points, despite cancelling their entries for Le Mans and the Carrera Panamericana. Castellotti and Taruffi scored some more local wins before, on the 18th of October, Lancia announced their retirement from sports car racing, and just a week later, the Formula One Lancia D50 made its Spanish GP debut. Gianni Lancia said they were withdrawing from sports car racing because it needed too many drivers, cars and engines. 3 and 3.5 liters for some tracks, 4 and 4.5 liters for faster tracks, to be ideally prepared. It was therefore very expensive. Also, Gianni was aware of the need to concentrate his attention on normal car production. Thus, Lancia left sports car racing after 2 active years, unfortunately without gaining a world championship. As with the Aurelia B20 factory racers, Lancia had decided to cannibalize the sports racers, but fortunately some have escaped this sad fate. None of the D20 coupes were saved as a result of their modification into D23s. But one D23 is still in existence in a private collection, plus 2 D24s, one in the National Museum in Torino, said to be the Carrera winning car, plus another one that was discovered during the late 70s in Argentina and later came back to Torino. Then there is the mysterious D25 in Lancia's own collection, with its wide oval grille, a car intended for Ascari to be privately entered for the 1955 Carrera. After Lancia abandoned sports car racing, this car sat unused in the Lancia Museum, never having turned a wheel until the late 70s, when it was finally made a runner for demonstration purposes. Apart from these 4 cars, 4 engines, 2 D24 3.3s, 1 D24 3.8, and an experimental D20 2.5 liter emerged from cannibalization as well, these being used for a trio of reproduction D24s which were constructed under the guidance of Guido Rosani of Torino by Luciano Basso of the same town. Now, remember everybody, this was just another rip-off from this fantastic book about the Lancia cars. All that knowledge. You should go buy the book yourself. It's not exactly cheap, but it's very good. So, see you next time.